For many people, living with animals is one of the most fulfilling parts of life. When you take in the big picture of existence, it is actually one of the most logical things we do in this crazy thing we call modern life. Our pets are a bridge back to nature and a bridge back to ourselves. They are containers of presence, unconditional being, and isness. Their connection to us is unlike what humans bring us because they lack ego narratives that we people are blessed to contend with. That means their connection to us is stunningly pure and lovely. In fact, the connection that I had to my dogs is the reason I wrote these 2 episodes about pet trauma and care. And the wild part is, I haven't had a dog in nearly 20 years. My current life situation mixed with fur allergies has left a hole in my pet life. I got to missing them the other day and cried, just wishing I could sit in their magical resonant field of their sweet little bodies one more time. So I'm dedicating these 2 episodes to my little furry loves that I miss. I hope to take the magic they brought me and spread it like wildflower seed over the earth. In my last episode, I talked about pet trauma because I personally have been doing intensive inner work for a decade, with an eye to extreme detail for the past 9 months, working to become as self-sovereign as humanly possible. When I started to miss my childhood dogs, I started to compare them and their magnetic resonance. One of my sweethearts was named Toy. She came to us through the hands that had rescued her and needed to rehome her one more time. Our frequencies were an exact match, and I became her person in an instant. But she was always timid and on edge. She had so much locked up in her fascia. I got to wishing I could have helped her more with it, and a deep dive later I had written up the previous episode. But I wouldn't be doing her full justice to not do this follow-up episode, because we think we are owning a pet or saving a rescue. In reality, unknowingly, we are often treating them like fuzzy emotional lightning rods, because without an ego and a mental narrative device, their fields are open and nested within ours. They absorb the chaotic frequencies of our stress, our unsaid family tensions, and our digital franticness. They are drowning in our data corruption. If we don't do our own inner work, we are essentially passing off our trauma onto them. To understand why this happens, we have to look at the human chassis and understand why we don't run our own reset codes. In the last episode, we broke down how animals in the wild naturally discharge stress. When a threat passes, they shake. That involuntary, rapid neurogenic tremor acts like a literal degaussing cycle. It introduces a high-frequency vibration that scrambles the chaotic magnetic signature of the trauma before it can settle into their tissue. It keeps their liquid crystal fascial fluid clear and perfectly conductive. But the human chassis has a structural glitch called the neocortex. When we experience a microtrauma, a toxic interaction at work, a spike of anxiety, or the low-grade chronic stress of navigating modern survival, our logical brain steps in and overrides our biology. It says, act normal, stay still, don't make a scene. So instead of shaking it out, we freeze. We swallow the scream. We hold our breath. And because we suppress that natural physical discharge, the raw energy of that stress has nowhere to go. Our fascia has no choice but to absorb the signal. It runs a localized protection script. It squeezes the structured water layer out of the tissue, dehydrates, thickens, and locks that survival static directly into our physical frame. We build literal structural armor inside our own bodies, and because we never run our own degaussing cycle, we walk around emitting a constant, high-amplitude broadcast of bracing against the world. Now, think about what happens when you walk through your front door, carrying that heavy, unexpressed static, and your dog or cat runs up to greet you. As we established, dogs are open system team players. Their biological design relies on nesting their electromagnetic heart field within a pack or a human handler to achieve stability. They don't have an egoic shield. They cannot look at you and mentally process, oh, my human is just having a bad day at the office, the stress isn't mine. Instead, the physics of resonant entrainment takes over. When two electromagnetic fields interface, the lower, more chaotic frequency will naturally be pulled into the rhythm of the dominant, high-amplitude field. Your frozen human field becomes the dominant broadcast in the room. Your pet's antenna instantly picks up your bracing signal. To harmonize with you and ground your system, their own liquid crystal fascia begins to tighten, dehydrate, and bind. This means that a huge portion of what we diagnose as unexplained behavioral anxiety, sudden aggression, or chronic physical ailments in our pets isn't actually their trauma at all. They are acting as literal emotional grounding wires for us. They are absorbing our unresolved data corruption and storing it in their own chassis just to keep our environment stable. So how do we stop levying this energetic tax on the creatures we love? How do we clear our own perimeter so that sitting next to us feels like a genuine sanctuary for them, rather than a processing plant? We have to learn to run our own degaussing cycle, and it is much more mechanical than you think. Because our fascia is a liquid crystal semiconductor, it doesn't just hold on to psychological memory. It holds a literal physical charge. To drop that charge, you have to bypass the logical brain and give your animal body permission to reset. There are 4 highly effective medium-level somatic keys to clearing your personal antenna right now. 1. The involuntary shake, neurogenic tremors. When you get home from a stressful environment, stand in your space, drop your weight into your heels, loosen your joints, and let your body bounce and shake out your hands and arms for 2 full minutes. You are manually scrambling the stuck magnetic code before it settles into your tissue. 2. Fluid spine movement, unlocking the pelvic bowl. Moving your hips, lower back, and spine in fluid, non-linear, unpredictable loops. When we move the pelvic bowl without rigid linear structure, we rehydrate the bound collagen sandbags at the base of our primary antenna, allowing trapped survival energy to bleed off. I have an episode called Your Brain Isn't Foggy, It's Low Voltage that I will link at the end if you want to go into more detail about pelvic bowl motion and personal energy cultivation. 3. Vocal resonance, taking long, deep breaths and releasing them with low, heavy, audible sighs or humming. Just like a cat uses their internal purr matrix to pump vibrations through their bones, your vocal cords can vibrate your chest cavity from the inside out, forcing your heart rate variability back into a smooth, coherent wave. 4. External resonance, sound therapy. Sometimes our personal fascial armor is so dense and historic that we can't shake it out on our own. In those moments, we can introduce external tools using sound therapy, tuning forks, sound bowls, or vibroacoustic frequencies. Acts like an external shaker for your tissues. The precise sound wave forces the bound water layers within your fascia to fluidize, clearing the antenna from the outside in. When you practice these resets, you aren't just engaging in personal self-care. You are practicing the ultimate form of animal conservation. The moment your personal field drops its static and your fascia fluidizes, the animals in your home will instantly track the shift. They will walk into the room, realize their processing services are no longer required, and finally drop into that peaceful, deep, parallel stillness. I think about my sweet dog Toy and how much comfort she gave me when my own field was chaotic and unaligned. I couldn't hand her these future tech solutions back then, but I can plant these seeds for the animals of today. The moment we stop treating our pets like emotional toys and start taking responsibility for the bioelectric parameters we share with them, we change the world for both species. Thank you for being here, and thank you for taking care of your antenna. Until next time.